What kind of duration are you after?
Curation. Oh, it's
Duration.
Duration. Oh, sub 10 minutes.
Right, fine.
You've got other things to do, haven't you?
Yeah.
We're live now. So I've seen you speak a number of times. Some of the best ones I've heard you speak. Harper Adams at Nuffield. Oh my God, it must be 6-7 years ago. And you really commanded that lecture theatre, but it's your job. And the other one that you were very good at was the National Fruit Show in November. There's quite an interesting panel there. I don't know if you remember, there was a chap there who claimed he was a head of sustainability for something or other, and he got you were very diplomatic with him, but some of the crowd picked on him, perhaps because he didn't know his subject matter. But anyway, we're here at the Fenland Soil. Why are you here at the Fenland Soil event?
Two reasons really. Fenland soil is incredibly important in terms of reducing food. Fenland soil is an incredible problem in terms of emitting carbon dioxide.
Yep.
It really is the pointed opposition of the kind of food versus environment debate in a way.
Yep.
And what I'm interested, particularly in this conference, is to hear what people are coming up with in terms of ideas and solutions, and also measuring metrics to find out the scale of the problem, what can be done. I think it really brings some of our arguments into sharp focus.
And that's why we need people like you in the sector. We need communicators who can communicate it to people here. I don't know if you heard one of the speakers earlier who said 2 years ago there was only been half a dozen people here. Now there's 200.
200, right? Yeah.
Plus that. But it's also, how do we get this message out? Because there is a bit of negativity to the Fens per se, and the guys here are saying, well, we produce 30% of all the fresh produce in the UK and 70,000 jobs, and there's that oxymoron there.
I think we're only probably starting on that journey. When you've got your first problem, you're talking about soil, dirt. Most people don't give a damn, stuff that they wash off their hands or they walk over. They don't really get the importance of it. And that is changing quite clearly. That's changing definitely in, obviously in farming and environment circles. But there's still a long way to go with the wider public. And if they think of the word peat, they probably either think of stuff they put in the garden and potting compost, or they might sort of think of it more in terms of the uplands. Actually, it's probably have more exposure to a lot of the kind of upland peat issues, and so I think that's the first thing. People just aren't yet at the level of knowledge or engagement that might be required. But I think the other thing is there is quite a lot of silo thinking on this, kind of inevitably really, because food production largely is a priority for most farmers.
Yep.
Wildlife protection is a priority for most wildlife groups. It's in the name. It's not terribly surprising that they come from different avenues on this. But I think there is quite a lot that can bring them together. And I think what I like about this conference is they've shown the importance of it. And I don't think anyone serious can or should be talking about abandoning food production on peat altogether.
Yep.
Not least because we don't know what the climate and indeed nature and wildlife impact will be of getting that food from elsewhere.
Yep.
Whether that be elsewhere in Britain or more likely elsewhere overseas.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is, just what the impact of those various, rewilding or rewetting processes should be. And just finally, the very last thing, which is a little bit sort of sad in a way, we just heard from our European and Canadian colleagues that actually finding solutions to this is bloody difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they went, we tried this, and we're all waiting for this fantastic result, and they said, it didn't really work very well.
Yeah, but again, that's another good thing about the conference, that collaboration with those overseas partners. So all going to help us to learn. Books. I hear on the grapevine, I won't name any names, John Shropshire, that you might be looking to write a new book. But tell us about your previous book.
Yeah. Well, the existing book, 39 Ways to Save the Planet, still available, was really a climate change solutions book, and the background to that was having spent roughly 25 years reporting in this area. I was kind of unshakably convinced by the seriousness of climate change and the urgency, but also a little bit dismayed that some of the amazing things that had happened and are happening by way of combating it were going slightly unknown, slightly less reported, or a lot less reported really. And so my idea was to to basically interest people first of all. That, like any book, it's funny with environment stuff. People always assume that you're immediately trying to. It's a call to arms. You're immediately trying to get them to change something or do something different. Actually, first of all, it's just to interest them. I just want them to be interested in this stuff, engage it. And so we tried to find stories and issues and changes and innovations that would interest people, and they weren't just technical. Important to stress. Yes, there are great engineers and inventors in there. There's also people involved in law, society, female education, economics, and of course, nature and farming. Because that's a big deal. And increasingly, we're seeing this phrase nature-based solutions about using land. And so lots in there as well. There's a chapter about peat, and I always think it. I mean, the way I chose to illustrate this, or start this rather, and we're familiar to people like you, the extraordinary fact that things don't break down in peat, the fact that peat preserves, was the Tolland man who was the body that was found in Denmark, and who was, I think, I can't remember, but certainly hundreds of years, if not more, down there, and they got him up and they started a murder inquiry because they thought it was really recent.
That's right.
And then I was up in Scotland the other day doing a peat story, and it was in a place where they just got sort of logs all over the place in this peat bog, and they said, we dated this one, it's 3,000 years old. And it looked just like, a bit of wood I put on my fire. And so, I find that sort of slightly magical quality of peat in that sense is quite fascinating. And also, when you get in there, there's people who are really obsessed by it as well, which I always love. It's a little bit like the last part.
I think we're with 200 of them today.
It's a little bit like the last part of Have I Got News for You, when you get out that Nerd's Journal. We're all in the Nerd's Journal of Peat. So that's Peat, sorry. So that was the book, and indeed podcasting was taking our way to the planet, because it came off the back of a Radio 4 series. But now I'm working on something which is in some ways even more appropriate to this, which is basically about land use. In an era where we're asking to do our land so much, asking our land to do so much, not just grow food and give us shelter, which arguably was the point in the past, but now store carbon, generate renewable energy, provide more space for wildlife, carbon storage, water storage, before you get to roads, transport, infrastructure, recreation, mental health. The list goes on, which we're asking land to help solve those problems. And so how do we manage it best? Where we can double up or even more than that.
And when's that going to be out?
Well, if I pull my finger out and start writing it, it'll be a good deal soon. No, I have started writing it. Touch wood. Maybe if I say this, I'll have to deliver it next spring.
It'll be out. Fantastic. Tom, thank you very much. We hope the conversation goes well tonight. You're talking at the dinner. It will do, of course.
I hope so.
But no, thank you for your attending and supporting the Fenland Soil 2023.
Well, thank you very much. It's good fun.
Thank you.